our community. I am going to turn it over to Melanie, who is going to talk to us about what the morning is going to look like.
Good morning. Again, my name is Melanie Stefani. Associate Career and Technical Education. See if this works a little better. As you can tell, we just before we really get started, I think over the past 7 weeks, we had about 200 people filter through our roundtables, and so we couldn't have everybody join us today. So we're live streaming for those who wish to attend. And I know there are a few people out there because they've already texted me. So this is a little look at our meeting agenda. We're going to do brief introductions again, just to go around the room like we have previously. Then we're going to do some review of the priorities that we set. We'll take a look at the goals of the roundtables one more time. Then we're going to take a look at those goals and how we can actually actionalize them in a short-term and a long-term fashion. So, you know, we're once again grateful for the time that you've invested in these. I know that, how many of you sent multiple employees over the last several weeks? I know some of the health science agents, healthcare partners and stuff sent multiple people, and I know that you have other work to do, and so we appreciate the time that the people put into this for us. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my own staff because they've been pulled in multiple directions. Once you start a series of roundtables like this, it kind of becomes all-consuming. And each of them they have other job functions that need to be attended to on a daily basis. Some of them are not even teaching and learning staff. They might be my financial staff, my marketing staff, and everybody has stepped up to make sure that these have gone smoothly and well. It is quite a whirlwind. We have actually a wealth of data. We did one roundtable for public sector. We have over 20 pages of notes just from that one roundtable. So we've been going through and debriefing after each one. We finished our final roundtable last Thursday. That was the most intimidating one for me. And then we quickly got to work to kind of look at the trend data. I mean, in 4 days, we turned around 3 presentations. One we threw out. One Dr. Vasquez is going to share with the board next week. So we've been pretty busy with this. This time, I know people are eating, but if we could do just quick introductions, your name, your company, and your role within that would be great. We'll start over there with you, TV Bob.
Hi, I'm Amy Parker, and I'm a career and technical education resource teacher.
Good morning, my name is Isis. I'm with Spectrum. I'm a recruiter, and we are looking for amazing field technicians. Thanks.
Flag. Good morning, I'm Michelle Berger, and I'm one of the senior administrators for career and technical education.
Hi, I'm Kate Martin, and I head the grants department at Dr. Phillips Charities.
Good morning, Milta Blanco from Career Source Central Florida.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Havard. I'm the Human Resource Director at the Hyatt Regency Orlando.
Good morning, Karen Revel, CEO of Junior Achievement.
Good morning, I'm Katie Brown. I'm the Vice President of Education for Junior Achievement.
Good morning, Catherine O'Neill, one of the district coordinators for Career and Technical Education.
Good morning, Paul Soul, CEO of the Florida High Tech Corridor, 23 counties between Tampa, Orlando, Gainesville, and the Space Coast.
Morning, Mike Califf, Chief Operating Officer for Synaptic Sparks, a modeling and simulation gaming company.
Danny Garner, I'm a district coordinator for OCPS Career Technical Education.
Good morning, Michael Carbini, Senior Executive Director of Workforce for Z-Space, augmented and mixed reality company.
Hey, good morning, Matthew Miner. I'm the HR Manager for Frito-Lay Orlando.
Good morning, Ryan Mahoney. I head strategic initiatives for Apple Public Sector in the Southeast, so education, healthcare, state and local government.
Hi, good morning. I'm Tashima Bush. I'm a resource teacher for Career and Technical Education.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Barbary, and I manage our engagement for Addition Financial in Orange County.
Good morning. I'm John Wright. I'm the Associate Superintendent with Orange County Schools over the Innovation Office.
Good morning, I'm Dawn Raymond. I'm a Senior Administrator with our Career and Technical Ed Department with our Orange County Public Schools.
Good morning, everybody. Mark Gorell, Coordinator, CTE.
Morning, Parker Antoine, Senior Administrator for Marketing, CTE.
Good morning, Robert McNeil, Omega Medical Manufacturing, Director of Manufacturing.
Hi, I'm Haiti Chan from United Airlines. I'm the training coordinator for the Southeast.
Hello, I'm Mike Garcia. I'm Senior Manager of Technical Operations for United Airlines.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rolando Lizano, Mitsubishi Power Manufacturing Manager.
Good morning, William Pierce, Mitsubishi Power, Hiring Manager for the ORC.
Good morning, Christian Davidson, Chief Operations Officer for the Manufacturing Association of Central Florida.
Good morning, Ray Agavir, Custom Metal Designs. My company does industrial automation, so collaborative and industrial robotics.
Terry Ann Wright. I work with Orange Technical College, Senior Administrator with Career and Technical Education.
Donnie Casey, the Executive Director for MACF, Manufacturers Association of Central Florida.
Excellent, thank you. So, briefly, you may recall that the purpose of the roundtables originally was we really were interested in getting industry stakeholder feedback about the programs that we're offering on our campuses, both post-secondary and secondary. We were looking at ways to reimagine this student experience so it's more engaging and connected to career opportunities that are relevant and that are economic development priorities right now. In that end, we are looking at ways that we can strengthen our pathways, particularly for me in my work, the CTE pathways. So, you know, Dr. Vasquez in our first meeting on October 13th, she talked about the current climate in education and our vision for the future, right? And so these roundtables were really designed to both educate you all on what we're doing, but really for us to learn about what we could be doing differently and how we could better partner with you all to ensure that we're providing students from elementary through post-secondary every opportunity to learn about careers available to them as early as possible. So in essence, we were looking to investigate the incentives that would be available to engage business and maintain that engagement with business in our work on a regular basis. And so that's really what we're here to talk about today. So these are some of the things we heard from the roundtables. The first one really kind of resonated with my team and I as we sat down to really go through some of the data. And we haven't done a true deep dive. We've had only a few days, so there's more to that to come. But how you define the problem determines how you solve it. So it's the lens that you use, right? It's how you're looking at the work that needs to be done. It's going to dictate how you solve it. For me, it's a hard thing to say because we have to really take a look at our work and what we've done for years. I've been doing this type of work for 10 years. I'm very proud of the work that I've done. But is that good enough? So we've hired more people without degrees than with degrees. I'm going to revisit this statement later. I'm going to let it hang there. And one of our partners said, you know, we need to find their itch to create a niche. And then one thing that came up last Thursday, I think that amused us all, is really the goal of what we're trying to do is global domination. That was a thing that came up. It's now my new mantra. So when we're looking at the work that we need to do, I can never leave in the background what is the driving factor of the work. And when we first met, I kind of touched on some of the strategic priorities that are coming from Tallahassee. And I want to revisit that a little bit to provide an update on where things are, because this really does drive the types of programs that we offer, as well as the credentials of value that we provide our students opportunities to earn. So we talked about the career and technical, the Career and Technical Education course audit. That's the audit that the Florida Department of Education did of all the CTE programs that are being offered in the state of Florida. They've drilled down into some deep data. I'll give you some high level. They looked at enrollment, they looked at completions, they looked at placement rates after graduation, and they looked at certification attainment rates. They also measured the number of CTE students who graduated having passed certain required exams, our EOCs and FSAs, and when they passed them. They passed them on the first take, second take, third take. So they really drilled down into our data. It was very telling data, and at the basic level, and when we come back for an advisory meeting, we will bring some here for you all to review, because I think the transparency is important. But to give a basic example, if you look at the data that they provided us, which is lagging data, we have 17,000 students in digital design or digital multimedia programs, and based on the DEO projections, there are about 393 positions projected. Now, there's some issues with SOC codes and how we categorize things in education that contribute to that, but even so, you know, where's the disconnect there, right? So these are things that we know that we need to take a hard look at. The other thing driving our work is our Perkins Grant. The Carl Perkins Act is an act that funds CTE from a federal level. We are required to complete a comprehensive local needs assessment. That needs assessment, we are probably about 50% of the way through. We hired consultants to do it for an objective view. Why I'm raising this with you all again is any programs that we define as new programs that we'll be offering. I'll give some examples later, but I'll toss AI out there as an example. We're going to start offering that at one of our schools next year. If I don't discuss these things with our consultants and we don't get this into our strategic plan, then I can't use the money to fund it. Aviation is another one that would be new for us. You know, I need to make sure that these conversations that we've been having through these roundtables are translating into this process so that this is all included in the work that we're doing forward and can be funded with what we have available. And what Rosa's watching me like, but there's only so much money. So then there's the Reimagining Education and Career Help Act, right? The REACH Act. They have stood up the Labor Market Estimating Committee, and they've started to have conversations around what medium and high wage means. They're awaiting confirmation of what they're calling wage brackets, but right now, as of the December 1st meeting, and maybe Nilda, you may have an update better for me later, that medium wage is currently $15 an hour. So what that says to someone like me, I'm only going to be able to offer programs that lead to medium and high wage career pathways. I'll use CNA as an example. My market research, and someone is welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, most CNAs make $12 out of the gate. We are only going to be able to offer programs that meet the wage threshold that is determined by the Labor Market Estimating Committee. So if we want to offer CNA, is there a way for people like me and you to advocate at the state level? If we stack credentials, if you get a CNA and your phlebotomy and your EKG, is that enough to raise the wage threshold? I don't know, but these are conversations that we need to be having. What all that work tells us, though, is that from the work that we do, and I say we because I mean jointly, we need to focus on learner-centered, student-centered learning opportunities where we can start getting kids engaged in career interest earlier so that by the time they get to high school, they know where they want to be. And then finally, the credentials of value. That was one of the core things we were interested in learning from these roundtables. What are the credentials that your agencies value? What do people need to have in order to get a medium to high wage job in your agencies? We gathered a lot of data around that. Some of it is interesting to me because at almost every roundtable we heard of the value of the Microsoft certifications, and those were the first ones that the DOE basically removed from our approved list. So interesting conversations need to be had around credentials of value. And another example I want to give, a local construction company, they give their own welding certification. It's not recognized by the DEO or the DOL or the FLDOE, all of those acronyms. But is that something that we can work with them to micro-credential, stack those credentials, and get that particular agency's micro-credentials approved for this list? So there's lots of things swirling around and lots of opportunities for us to partner around the priorities that are driving the work that we are currently doing. This time I'm going to turn it over to Parker.
We're doing all right? Thank you. Going to go a little different direction this morning, and if you've heard this before, maybe you were at some of the previous roundtables, just kind of bear with me. But point of the story is I didn't want to brush over the work we've been doing with the roundtables. These last 7 weeks have been very eye-opening. I've been in part of the district for over 12 years now, doing marketing specifically for CT in the district, and I can definitely affirm the fact that this is the most momentum I've ever seen from the workforce in general, from our community bodies, from the district, including our deputy superintendent, and just the greater community at large. So let me explain where this thing started. So right around the corner, we had our first meeting, 8 weeks ago at the Orlando Economic Partnership. Last time I was at the Orlando Economic Partnership, I was meeting with somebody named Leifke Myers, who was the vice president of investor operations, basically the person responsible for bringing some of the biggest corporations in the world to Orlando. She came over from Eastern Europe about 19 years ago, highly educated, and none of those credentials were recognized when she came to the United States. She got her GED 18 years ago from our West Side campus, just so she could begin that education journey again, which led to basically an education from Rollins, which gave her the experience to get a high-level position in Orlando, starting from a GED, right? That looks a lot different from the next person that we met over at Hyatt Regency, which was our second stop. The last time I was there, I was meeting with someone named Raphael Frederick, who was running the restaurant GM of the culinary operations there. He essentially came over from Venezuela to escape a very terrible situation for his family and any kind of prosperity. Drove a truck when he came to Florida, realized he wanted to get into a more professional environment, got to working in the kitchen, found our Mid-Florida campus to take some hospitality and tourism courses to get him the certifications he needed to grow into becoming a GM of now a fine dining restaurant down at Disney the last time I talked with him. Our next stop was at Career Source Central Florida. Hopefully I don't have to tell you all the people, the dozens of people that they help every year and the students that they send through our school. And just last week, we were at ITSIC, the largest modeling and simulation conference in the world, of which probably 5 or 6 years ago we developed a $2 million launch site at our Mid-Florida campus to develop secondary students in the modeling and simulation industry that frankly not enough people even know exists in Orlando. So the point I tell you is these are significant jobs, industries, sectors, but we've been doing the work for a long time, but the point is the work doesn't stop. So the way I look at these industry roundtables, they've really affirmed what we want to do, but they've also told us we need to go in a different direction. I guess a more expansive direction is what's important to me. I probably fit somewhere along this spectrum, by the way. By the way, this is a graphic that's circulating around our education environment. And to me, it really is kind of a broken model from the start. I probably represent someone on this path, right? Went to college, went to OCPS my whole life, right? Lake Silver Elementary, Lee Middle School, Edgewater High School, Florida State University with a business degree, and somehow end up 12 years later in education, right? I don't know how I got exactly on this path, but I guarantee you it wasn't a linear path like this. The stories that I gave you previously do not look like this. And I feel like a lot of people in this room feel like the reason why these roundtables, the nexus came, we want to blow out this barrier here in the middle between education and industry, but we feel like the path is all wrong anyways. This really needs to be more of a highway system rather than a linear road where students are jumping on and off different sectors of their education journey, right? That might include funding support. That might include an internship with business and industry. That might include a partnership with higher education because after they get their certification, they may want to go on to become a doctor. These are complicated pathways, and I appreciate the work to make this happen. And I think we need to get into the lessons learned. And as we get into these, I'm going to toss it back to Melanie shortly. We had 8 of these roundtables with all sorts of sectors. There's a lot of big ideas that came and a lot of lessons learned. So what we try to do is pull out some lessons that we think are global to this group, but keep in mind as you're hearing this, because we're going to ask you for some information later on today, how does this maybe go deeper into your sector from the larger lessons learned across the board? I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. So remember, we had three key priorities. The first of which was, what are the high-need, hard-to-fill positions within your agencies? The high-need, hard-to-fill positions. What we heard repeatedly, it didn't matter what sector it was, which roundtable it was, is the needs are deep. That industry is desperate for help. These are quotes. I'll take anyone, just need to be sure they can breathe. That's what somebody said at a roundtable. And I've got a few people you're nodding your head. Hopefully we can produce a talent pipeline that can do a little more than breathe. I have faith. But the needs are very real. And I think in many industries, aviation, right, was before the pandemic. This was happening before the pandemic, because I know that's when we started working together. So Then the other theme that kept resonating roundtable after roundtable is we want to help, but it needs to be structured and organized. I need to go to one place for it, not 22 high schools. So I hear that loud and clear. And then, you know, much to my chagrin, I don't know where Donnie went, the need for soft skills, which we're going to get on the bandwagon of the durable skills, which expands the soft skills a little bit beyond the basics of your handshake and into more of your critical thinking and your teamwork kind of mentality. So we hear that loud and clear, but what it tells us is we have a strong need for work-based learning opportunities, things like internships, pre-apprenticeships, job shadowing, experiential learning. More to come on these topics later on in the presentation. What we do know is one of the things that we were very interested in learning that will drive our work is that list of technical skills that is needed. Yes, we understand the soft skills, but if we want to have somebody who can do more than breathe, what are the skills that are needed? And so we did get a fair amount of that information from the roundtables, and we are going to start to work to build an inventory of what those are so that we can guide our work from that. Okay, the next key priority was what are the career opportunities for students? And what we heard loud and clear is there needs to be a deeper awareness of what the opportunities are that are available to students and all the way down into elementary. We heard our guidance counselors need to be better educated about career opportunities. I believe earlier I said one agency, and they're represented in this room, hired more people without degrees than with degrees. So how do we begin to expand the knowledge base of our students of what those career opportunities are? Right, it's not enough to say there are career opportunities in advanced manufacturing. What are they? Right, and what are the technical skills that are needed? So in addition to that, you know, our core content teachers need to be educated on our career and tech ed opportunities because they could be wrapping their curriculum around some of the soft skills, those durable skills that we're looking for, right? Our administrators need a better understanding of what our programs are, what they could be. So we heard that loud and clear. Then the other piece was exploration of providing students relevant, engaging, and industry-based learning experiences. Well, we've done some of that. We need to do more. And I do say we've done some of it because it is important to know, excuse me, that we started doing these opportunities a year ago in October when largely people were not coming to school yet. Students were not coming to school yet. And so we did an advanced manufacturing competition to honor Manufacturing Month in person live at our Mid-Florida campus in the launch site that Parker referenced with about 60 students. It was that important to us that I got permission from my boss and the superintendent to put kids on buses and bring them out. And ironically, most of the students who participated were the students that were learning from home, and they needed that experience. So we could do more, we could do better, but we're working on it. So the next thing was the learning environment needs to be flexible, immersive, and CTE-centric. So we know that we need to have learning environments that mirror what industry looks like, right? Not only in equipment and supplies, but in project-based learning. So that was more to come on that a little later in the presentation, but that was heard loud and clear. That moment when, so if you know me, you know, okay, I was like, I've lost my keys twice this morning. I'm not sure where my parking thing is. And Parker just walked off with a clicker. See, so I'm a little discombobulated right now. I hope someone knows where my keys are. So the next one was the credentials of value conversations. That was our third key priority. And this one is very important to me for a number of reasons. One, I believe students who leave with credentials have a better shot at getting into medium and high wage careers and maybe exploring more post-secondary educational pathways if that's their pleasure. From a business perspective, and I do come from business many years ago, I have to be mindful of the money. And we use those industry certifications to fund our programs. Without that money, we can't keep our equipment up to date. We can't provide our students the testing opportunities for certification. So I'm mindful and watching very closely what's happening in Tallahassee with those credentials of value, which is why I was keenly interested in learning what you value. Because I've got to go back to them and make sure that they know that in Central Florida, we value Microsoft certifications. And that needs to be reconsidered. So key number one, why that's a priority. But when you're talking about technical skills versus degrees, now we worked with the partnership, or in conjunction with the partnership, when they released their white paper on skills-based hiring, And that was right when we were coming back to work. And we sat down and I put a committee together and we thought, well, if they're going to do skills-based hiring, and we took a look at those people who were furloughed or laid off, what were their skill sets, and how do we build programs that don't reteach them what they already know, but teach them what they need to know to get back to work quickly, right? So that they had the skills that the hiring managers would recognize. We built those programs, and Orange County Public Schools is heavily invested. We built a whole pathway in IT because we're struggling with hiring people in our IT department. Orlando Health, we have a program that we tailored alongside of them for a pre-CNA. They needed exponential numbers of pre-CNA, so they came to us and we developed a program in conjunction with them. These people are in and out in 1 day into work. 1 day. That's skills-based. Again, more to come on that. I want to talk a little bit about micro-credentialing and badging. So when you're thinking about the durable soft skills, can we micro-credential those in a way that are valued by your agencies? That you can trust that if they come out of Orange County Public Schools, they have the soft skills that you require to hit the ground running in your industry. Things to think about. There'll be opportunities for work groups around that, through the work that we intend to do. And then the use of technology. We know we have gaps in our pathway offerings. We need to fill those gaps based on the demands in the industry. Things we heard loud and clear, manufacturing. I mean, there's a dire need. Is that a fair statement? Dire need. Same with healthcare, same with finance, and then space and aviation as well. I have Michael Carbinius here from Z-Space. I've heard from people over the course of the roundtables that we need to use more AR. We have AR in our schools. His agency, Z-Space, helps us train the teachers. Do we need to do better at that? We absolutely do. I have a team in place that's working to support those. They're here in the black shirts. They're going to support teachers more with that, but we know we have it. We know we could do better at it. And then we have a strong partnership with Apple, who is also here. Anytime we do a student competition or an experiential learning opportunity, they send someone here. We've done app creation and pitch fests around entrepreneurship, and we've been doing that for over a year with them. So lessons learned, things we do, things we could do better. All right, Parker, over to you.
All right. I did see some people taking notes, and that's a good thing because we're about to put those notes in somewhere we can read them. Hopefully, through some of the big ideas we covered, right? Hard to fill positions, high need, hard to fill positions, career opportunities for students, credentials of value. What did we miss in terms of our big ideas, right? In those 3 buckets, how do they apply not only in your industry, but maybe what you're seeing as some larger takeaways? Now, keep in mind, we have some goals which are coming up later, and they're pretty big. So there are some ideas into action. We're going to hear those, but this would be the opportunity to get that information in on behalf of your agency or even your corporation as to what you'd want us to take from big ideas. So if you could go ahead and pull out your phones and go to this URL if you can. We have a custom form set up, super simple, just to give you a way to put some information in there that we can put into our plan as we put together the council to digest everything we've been experiencing the last 8 weeks. So I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes, type in that URL. You don't need the www or any fun things like that. We got people to help. And I'll give you a couple minutes. Hopefully some of your submissions will be popping up here shortly. Probably should have told you these are going to be popping up, so careful what you write. All right, just a minute, another minute or two, and I want to throw some of these out there. All right, everybody about good? I'm going to give you all a minute to, well, actually, if there's anybody that would like to clarify their note, that would be fantastic. But I did want to speak on one or two that stood out to me, and I think Melly's going to do the same. Obviously, I've been in marketing for 12 years doing this as a career, right? Trying to get the awareness out there about not just the programs we have, but I'm going to be honest with you, what CTE is. I can tell you when I started in OCPS, career and technical education is not common vernacular in our world. I mentor some teenage kids at Edgewater High School, and I use them as kind of like a focus group, not just for the brand, but just for our programming altogether. So we have a lot of training to do and awareness when it comes to our greater community. And this note here, increase awareness among underrepresented populations, extremely important. How do we engage to explore new career seekers, I was thinking, at all levels, youth and adults? We have about 4 verticals that we try to attack as a district when it comes to awareness. Students being front and center, right? We have to let students know that these opportunities exist way earlier than by the time they become a dual enrollment student, you know, at the high school level. We also have parents, which is an extremely important sector for us. As you guys know, parents can guide a student's journey in one way or the other. So changing the mindsets of parents to look at technical college or CTE in the same vein as a university education is a full-time job for me, but I think we need everyone out there speaking that at different levels. Business and industry, that's part of what we're doing today, wanting to educate business and industry of the changes we're making and making sure we're offering the right certifications. but also community and support functions like Career Source, like Goodwill. These places have the resources to help students. But the reason I say that is because what the awareness looks like to each of those groups is extremely different. I'm not going to hand an 8.5 by 11 pamphlet to a student to talk to him about advanced manufacturing. May need to do that for any of your publications when it comes to what your level of engagement is going to look like. So maybe think about what are some of those mediums, right? If we know we have great content or great alumni stories or something to share in your industry, give that to us now. We have incredible platforms. We have the largest newsletter in the district. Myriad of omni-channel marketing approaches to how we reach the community, so this can be done right now. I just wanted to reiterate that. And Mel, did you want to speak on one in particular?
I'm always one who's about the data, right? And so there was a question up here about how we evaluate our programs. How do you evaluate the success of CTE program? Is it only job placement, or is it quality job placement, or longevity of career, or is it something else? So there's a variety of ways, and it's important to know that we evaluate the quality of our programs based on whether or not students continue beyond the first year. We'll call it a year. We call it an OCP, but do they stay with the program beyond the first level? Do they certify? Do they complete a program? Does it take at least 3 years of the program? Do they graduate? Do they pass their FSAs and their EOCs? Because the work that we do in CTE, we teach math and reading just like everybody else. Do our students go to a post-secondary college or university upon graduation, or do they go into the work world? And then if they go into the work world, are they in a job earning? It's hard when you're thinking about high school students, a little different when you're thinking about our post-secondary students. So what kind of wages are they making in the second quarter after they graduate? And then again in the fourth quarter? All that is monitored by us in conjunction with the Florida Department of Education. Those metrics are similar for our post-secondary adult students. But that CTE audit I mentioned, we thought about trying to bring some for you today and have it on the table, except to print it in any way that you can actually read it, because there's so much data in it. It's about the size of that painting. And it's a lot of, it just was a little bit overwhelming for today, but we will bring it back because we do take the quality of our programs quite seriously, and we're obligated to as a mechanism of our funding. So that's a good question for me because I'm a data geek. Parker, was there anything else from this? Yes.
If anybody would like to clarify their note, or if somebody feels like there's a big idea that they'd like to share, I would like to hear from some folks in the room if that's all right. Anybody want to speak on that? Thank you.
Yes, I look at this in a way of how do you identify and evaluate the gaps? I mean, we've been talking a little bit about evaluation, but where are those gaps? And then really the big idea is to personalize. How do you personalize that for each student or trainee, right? It's like, so, you know, is it certifications that they're going to need for what their desires and motivations are, and or is it a AS degree or a bachelor's degree or whatever it is? It's like being able to personalize would be the nirvana, I'd say, to any education source.
I think that's what got the deputy superintendent and us here where we are today. And I will tell you that every couple of weeks, every other week or so, we meet with the superintendent's cabinet, and that was about an hour and 15-minute conversation yesterday around how do you personalize learning. And so when you ask that, you know, in my world, I'm in a bucket, right? I'm career and tech ed, but my world, my bucket has to expand to a pool, right? Because in order to personalize in the way that you're describing, some of the ideas we have to take these things back into elementary is how do we help kids when they're this big? That's how big they are in elementary, right? I don't know. I taught high school. I don't know. You know, but to get them to hone in on, you know, I like to help people who are sick. And then begin to, in an age-appropriate way, in an age-appropriate way, start to develop a plan with goals. Like, you know, with people that are that small who are still finding their words. They're taller, she says. Are they like, nowadays they're, so, but these are conversations that we're having at the high levels. And, you know, as we dig into this, we'll dig deeper because some of this work has to happen outside of my department because this is a guess, and my team can nod yes or no, but I think we estimate that maybe we serve at the high school level maybe 25% of the students. So when you talk about the soft skills and you're looking at me to do it, I can't do it by myself. I got to get English in there. I got to get social studies. I got to get math. I got to get science. because I'm hitting as many as I can. But that's bigger than a bread box, and those are the conversations we're starting to have, and more to come through this, honestly. But that's good thoughts. Yes, sir.
In regards to the parents, how difficult is it getting them on board or engaging with their child having an option outside of the traditional 4-year degree? I mean, me personally, my parents never really gave me the option to look at an adult certification, or even if that was the better path for me, it was always really good 4-year degree. Is that an issue that we're having when it comes to?
I think that's one of the key points that's been brought up in the roundtables, is to be able to educate parents more on what those pathways are. I think where the difficulty lies is, well, it lies in different levels. Our upper quartile children, for the most part, their parents, and they have their pathway that more than likely are going to lead them to a college or university. But that doesn't stop them from being able to take advantage of some of the programs and certifications that are available through our career and technical education. Then you've got the rest, that 70 to 75% of our students that we really need to work with parents, the students, and the guidance counselors for them to truly understand, you know, it's a different world. There are opportunities for you. We are able to get you the training and the assistance and partner you so that you have a viable, high-paying wage job, maybe not as soon as you leave high school, but shortly afterwards. And that came across over and over again, that businesses and organizations are willing to partner because of the need they have to say, okay, we're willing to do some of that work or most of that work while they're still in high school, and then we can take them right after they graduate, and there are pathways within that organization as well. So we need to do a better job of reaching out to our parents so that they know what's available to them. And I think there is less of a constraint and less of pushback from parents now because things have changed. Not just the pandemic, but you saw that with this latest generation. They have a different mindset about careers, where maybe some of us who are older, you know, staying with one organization for your entire career, most of your career, was a plan and you were thrilled to do that. I have my own children who are in late 20s, early 30s, and some of them have already had, you know, that work for 2 different organizations simply because of the market that's out there and the availability and their own comfort level and what they want. It's not always about money. So,
and just to kind of wrap that up, that what you are asking is actually this goal number 1 in our strategic plan, is how do we create the pathways and educate parents and students about them. So it's a significant focus of our work right now. So can we drop the Jamboard? That's actually fabulous information. Those Jamboards that we've been using. Oh, we had one more. I'm sorry. My apologies. I was told to go.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Look, I just take orders.
Actions, I think, one of the bubbles that was up there, if that's what they're called, the word bubbles, was you know, effective and efficient job fairs, I think it said. And I think if I was a parent of an Orange Tech student, to see a highly successful, highly marketed job fair with, you know, we have so many different industries represented right here in this room, to know that my child was going to have an opportunity to be put in front of employers, and it just seems so simple, but it would be the desired end result as a parent to get your training, your certification, your education, and, you know,
a lot of schools, you know, they don't I don't remember schools having job fairs, but if they were highly successful, I think the parents would have more buy-in as well, maybe as part of that education.
I can speak to that. I worked when I was on what I call next door with JA on a really great job fair that we did at the Osceola Heritage Park for middle school students. Curriculum leading up into that moment, all the employers, and then alongside the employers, all my programs had tables. So if you were interested in advanced manufacturing, then my programs were alongside the booth where the advanced manufacturing folks were, so that you could tell the students this is the type of program you want to engage in. And so, yes, ma'am.
And we're doing that January 27th.
See? So we brought it over to Orange County now.
And actually, I think 9 Orange County public schools are going to Osceola Heritage Park for that career fair.
Yeah, we have to get together. I have ideas. I've got Amway Center in my mind. I've got people who can make it happen.
We already have some of you in the room participating, but if you're not, please see me before you leave here.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we ready for the next slide, I think. Okay, so this is where we get into what I'm going to call brass tacks, right? These are our goals into action, and these are the short-term ones. And for any of you who were at last Thursday's with space, aviation, and modeling and simulation, there's a bit of banter back and forth between my boss and I when we would reconvene again. And I'm starting my work in January because, you know, why not? So, you know, these are key priorities for my team. We sat together and came up with these ideas. I want to encourage you as I go through these, though, to kind of listen with intent, because there's going to be an ask at the end of this, and that ask is, what's your tolerance level and how are you willing to help us? Because we know we can't do this in isolation, or I won't do it very well. So, first thing that came up, we have advisory boards at Orange Technical College. We don't really have any functioning advisory boards for K-12. And that's where the education needs to happen, right? I talked about the littles who are apparently this tall, not this tall. But, you know, well, give me some money, we'll start doing it. Money and human capital. Boss lady, money and human capital. But I have a vision for these advisory boards. It's not just to come and meet like this, but I heard loud and clear, we need to have a framework. It needs to be purposeful. It needs to be strategic. And so how does my team and I develop advisory boards that provide experiential learning in a targeted, focused, meaningful way for students from 4th and 5th grade all the way through our post-secondary? So I heard that we don't want to call it a pipeline, so I'll use the term ecosystem. See, I read them. So if we develop an advisory board that's focused on an ecosystem model where I can start to educate kids at a young age, and I know they want to go into advanced manufacturing, and I can set up the coursework they need in middle school to set them up for success in high school. Now I know I'm going to run myself into a problem, right? And my team knows what it is. Do I have the facilities? Do I have the human capital? Do I have the equipment to expand programs as required as we educate kids and they know what they want to do? I don't know, Rosa, do we? But so yes. We need to have, well, this is exactly where we're headed.
Maybe that's what you're talking about.
This is exactly where you're going where I'm going, and I appreciate that you're going along with me. And to stay current, absolutely. So that all of that is a part of it. And so how do we develop these very focused, very strategic advisor councils to do all that, that when we get to the point that we're ready to expand, that I can come to Ray at Custom Metals and say, I am prepared now at West Orange High School to add advanced manufacturing, but I need your help. So I'm pulling out Ray because we've already had a conversation about how we need to expand our advanced manufacturing, and we're going to go look and see what he built at a school in Seminole County to see if we can replicate it here, and he's willing to help us financially. And we even talked, here's the other elephant in the room, is I have a hard time hiring teachers, because they're going to make more working for Ray than they will for me. They're going to make more working at United than they will for me. 47.5, that's where I live. That's my space. So we're looking for, if we are doing this type of expansion, how can we partner in cost sharing your staff to teach? And what does that look like? What could that look like? Because right now I can tell you we've closed construction programs because we can't hire a teacher. I can tell you if I opened advanced manufacturing in January, well, let me see. We opened advanced manufacturing and our juvenile justice, we won a grant, a competitive grant, and I can't find a teacher to teach it. Now, a more vulnerable population you will not find. What a better career pathway for them. So these advisory councils, but in quite a different way. And then I'm gonna riff off of Ray's unique partnership ideas, because now we have Orange County government, City of Apopka. They want things. Everybody wants things, but I only need 20 people. I don't need 175 kids. So we're currently working with the Apopka Fire Department to develop a Firefighter 1 program at Apopka High School. I'm going to provide the students and the space and an MOU, and Apopka Fire Department is going to provide the teacher and the expertise. I'll get the supplies and whatever they need. They have the big trucks. They've got the burn center or whatever. We have a partnership that they want the program, they need the program. I'm not going to be able to hire somebody. They're going to give me somebody, and I'm going to contract with them. Orange County, same thing with wastewater. Hear them loud and clear. They need wastewater technicians. Well, they only need so many. Not that we don't need them all over the county, but these are small programs that we need to pilot. Same idea. We're going to execute an MOU. I'm going to contract with them. Starting in August, they're going to teach that program out at University High School with someone on their staff who's more than highly qualified, and they're going to start to build their talent ecosystem. I read. So, you know, these are unique ways. I know, I'm going to say it over and over. Hiring teachers is going to be problematic for us. It's problematic for us in the core areas. It's even harder when you guys pay like you pay. So, anybody hiring right now? I might be looking at the end. My boss is looking at me like, stop. So, we're open to other ideas. Those are just a few ideas, but we're open to exploring how we can partner, how we can use internship or work-based learning or pre-apprenticeship to better provide students the opportunities they need. Then I'm not going to let go of skills-based training. We keep it in post-secondary right now because that's where it made sense, but now I have juniors and seniors who maybe for whatever reason haven't had a chance to take a CTE program yet in their high school. So what kind of skills-based training opportunities can we develop for them to get them right out into industry and work? They got skills. We just have to identify them. Badge the soft skill thing, right? The durable soft skills. We'll badge those for you and we'll figure it out. But what does that look like? What is really needed? And how we'll need industry support. If it's skills-based, you know, how are we developing that framework? We need that input for the technical skills from you all. Okay, and experiential learning. This is one where I'm all over the place with it in a good way. I described to you a little earlier some things that we did with manufacturing. Last February, in honor of CTE month, we did a biomedical challenge in conjunction with Orange County, Florida, and Orlando Health, where students came together to do a 1-year, 5-year, 10-year plan to recover from the pandemic. That was all in person. It was a really engaging competition. Couldn't have done it without our partners. They evaluated all the work and provided input on the project, which was a Project Lead the Way project. If you're familiar with Project Lead the Way, it was grounded in those tenets. Then we have some ideas that we're kind of looking for a branding name. Right now in our minds, we've just been calling it high-tech use. So how do we develop experiential learning opportunities by grade band that are age appropriate? So how do we take our 4th graders to Orlando Health to get a full view of the type of careers there are in a hospital beyond, you know, nursing or being a doctor, and have them work alongside the people who work at Orlando Health? My team can we have a very talented team. We can develop engaging project-based activities that your employees can do with the students so that they can get some experiences and have conversations with you like, did you have to go to college to have your job? Because I don't know if I can go. Excuse me. So we're talking about student competitions. Like I said, we've been doing those. Orlando and Advent Health have been helpful. Custom Metals, huge partner with those last October for Manufacturing Month. Resolute Tissue's been there, Orange County Government. Apple, once again, every competition we have or every student conference we have, Apple's come out for us. So these are things that we're doing, but we could get better. We could do them in more focused, more targeted ways, and we could expand the opportunities to more students that way. All right, Parker. Okay. We're coming in for a landing soon, I promise you. So we know we've talked about innovative scheduling models, and Dr. Vasquez talked about those the first time that we met. And since then, in listening to the roundtables and the feedback around work-based learning and those sorts of things, we know we need to kind of explore different types of scheduling models and what I'm going to call a grab-and-go model. So I'm a junior, and I know I want to get a work-based learning experience. I want to go to United. They've got a little job for me at United, but they need me from 9 in the morning till noon. So I want to take my English class online, because I can do that in my sleep. But I know I need to be in person for math, so I want math in person. And how can I custom build my schedule around opportunities that are available to me? That's something that we have to work through. I've already spoken with Dr. Vasquez. There's some, legislation drives everything, right? So everything that we do in education is legislated. And so we have to kind of explore what opportunities are available to us while we're still maximizing our FTE, because at the end of the day, we have to be able to afford to do it. And so I've been, let's see if she's listening, given the green light to at least approach the chancellor about language revisions that would support this type of scheduling model. This is fun, right? I don't know, I'm sweating. Everything I say I gotta do, so I'm up here sweating. It's live streamed and I'm really sweating. Tom Ott's out there. Big shout out to Tom Ott. Tom Ott is the principal of University High School. He sits on this council. He's opening wastewater and AI in the fall. Go get it, Tom. So let's talk, I'm gonna skip the curriculum transformation for just now because it speaks to the larger picture that came up a minute ago. Career guidance, right? The idea that we need to do a better job of educating the parents on the opportunities as well as the children. Parker, I'm going to kind of leave that because Parker talked a lot about that, and I don't want to belabor that point. We know we have a need for teacher externships. I think somebody said it earlier about keeping their technical skills up, right? When you've been out of the field for a while, changes happen, and you need to be constantly upskilling as well. So that's an ask. Never thought about having to upskill our teachers, right? But I think that's a need. Martucci, write that down. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about too, Tom Ott says hello to everyone. Along with the teacher externships, there was a lot of conversation around professional development because that's really what that is, right? And so last year, we hosted our first 2-day conference for CTE teachers, yes, in the pandemic, called Convergence. We had about 250 people attend, I think it was, around there. And we're looking to expand that this year. And I share this with you now because we're looking at it as we'd like to have multiple strands. So we want to have our teacher strand, we want to have a student strand, and we want to have a business partner strand. So what better way to educate counselors, right, about what you do than if you hosted a session and I could get the counselors there. So these are ideas. That's a simple way to support us in this, but we have to, advanced manufacturing, I'm not picking on them, but everybody thinks it's dirty, and you see I Love Lucy with the chocolates, and that's not at all what it is, right? I've been out to United, and I learned the one time I got to go, because they get to go all the time, how they maintain aircraft. I don't want to spoil it for my boss because I want her to see it one day. I was just dumbfounded, by the work that goes into that. People don't know that, and it's not necessarily dirty work. It's just work. So those things. Then we're going to hit the big elephant in the room, the curriculum transformation. So Dr. Vasquez is going to convene an internal council comprised of people who know things from different departments, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, but high schools, in order for us to do a bigger picture. Remember, her goal was to reimagine the educational delivery model, starting in the high schools and working backwards. Did I get that right? Okay, because I'm being evaluated on this. So there's a whole bigger thing that needs to happen around how we educate our students. How do we, see if she's listening, wrap all the core contents around pathways, CTE or AP? How do we embed the science and math teacher into the CTE course? If I'm going to grab and go my schedule, can I block my math in my CNC production course so that I have both of them at the same time? These are all things I'm thinking about. We haven't convened that council. There are other people within the district that need to look at the data, but it's my understanding that we are going to choose a small number of schools. I would do all. A small number of schools to pilot a transformation. And so, next slide there. Actually, I'm gonna go one further and then we'll go back. How's that, Parker? Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of a timeline, and then Parker's going to come back and give you a break from me with an ask. So, as we're looking ahead, you ever go to hit a right-hand turn and just step on the gas? Or do you always brake? It's a philosophical question. Because we're at that right-hand turn, and we're going to push that gas pedal. Look at Catherine's like, yeah, we are. So, in January, my team and I are going to work on the beginnings of the advisory board formations, so that I would like to have, an advanced manufacturing advisory board meeting by the end of January, one for health sciences by the end of January. We need to form one, for aviation. So we're going to start to reach out to people to see if they want someone to be engaged in purposeful, structured work around educating students from the littles to the bigs. Dr. Vasquez is going to put together our internal transformation council. We hope to have updates for you by March. So I'd like to convene this group once again in March to kind of give you an update of where we are. With a launch in August, by March we should have a more specific timeline with deliverables. Like I said, we just wrapped up the roundtables last Thursday, and we've been going through the data pretty feverishly to get to where we are today. So that's a loose framework of where we are, and I'm going to turn it over to Parker for the ask.
Everybody get your cell phones out again if you could. We have one more request and, well, maybe one extra one too. It's the marketer in me, what can I say? But if you could type in this URL, what we need for you to do is think about those goals, the short term and the long term. And what we'd like you to do is maybe connect yourself, or maybe even someone on your team, to one of these goals. And it could be more generally just your organization, or if you know who that person is, feel free to drop their name in right now. Like Mel said, we want to get to work immediately, and these advisory boards are going to be substantial, just as an example of a way you can get connected. So I'll give you a couple minutes before we wrap up, just a minute or so. A number of times. If there's multiple initiatives you feel like to get connected to, or multiple people you'd like to include, it's totally okay to save that, put anything in later as well. But you can do multiple submissions now if you feel like there's more than one goal that you may want to get connected to. still see some people putting some information in, and that is totally fine. You can also bookmark the page too, if it's something you want to take back to your organization. So we do want to wrap up. We greatly appreciate the time, not just today, but frankly over the last 8 weeks. And we're thanking you in advance for all the other time we're going to need as we put this plan into action. And I did want to say, to start getting connected with us right now. A shameless plug, you know, we really do have a pretty broad social media presence in digital marketing, and that's only going to continue. For instance, if you go to our YouTube page, you're going to see a video on every one of our dual enrollment programs. So if you're ever looking for a resource on what these programs look like, they're there. We have a brand new campaign starting in January. You're going to start seeing some advertisements around town and around We Show Up and what that means for students in Orange County. Hopefully seeing some elements of what we're talking about here sprinkled out throughout the year. So I'm a really simple ask to just maybe get connected to 1 or 2 platforms that you're comfortable with, because you're going to start seeing more information come out, not just about this, but where we're headed. And I know Melanie has a lot of other information to share directly as it relates to advisory boards and a lot of other functions. So I would just ask to get connected because that's something everyone can do right now. And I'm going to send it back to Maria.
Well, thank you again for being here with us this morning. I don't know what's in the water she's drinking, but she was extra lively today. Not I, your boss. We truly are so excited about the opportunity that we are facing at this moment in time in education and in Orange County Public Schools. As Melanie mentioned, at Tuesday's board meeting, next Tuesday, I will be doing a presentation to the board, updating them on our work through these business roundtables. Feel free to tune in if you would like. Our goal really is to enhance and create new pathways for our students so that we can support them in this new reality of the workforce that we are currently living in, and I don't see us ever going back. I've said this at the different roundtables. This is the time for us to reimagine what school looks like. It's an opportunity to rethink how we use time, space, and resources to truly impact the lives of our children and our community. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in the future and partnering with us. Have a great rest of the day.